It was a sunny morning in Ouagadougou in May 2025 when Ibrahim Traoré received documents that would change everything. His intelligence advisor, Colonel Ouagadougou, entered the presidential office with a sealed folder. "Mr. President, we have sensitive information about American operations in Africa." Ibrahim opened the documents and his face changed. They were detailed reports on covert activities involving illegal gold mining in Burkina Bay territory, with direct connections to American companies. Even more shocking, compromising photographs and emails involving American political figures, including secret negotiations that violated international agreements. "How did we get this?" Ibrahim asked, flipping through the pages. "Our new intelligence unit intercepted communications during counter-terrorism operations. We discovered that some American companies were financing armed groups to protect their illegal mining operations." Ibrahim closed the folder, processing the gravity of the situation. In his 3 years as president, he had promised the Burkina Bay people total transparency. Now she faced a dilemma. Exposing these activities could create a massive diplomatic crisis, but hiding them would betray her principles. Half a world away at Mar-a-Lago, Melania Trump woke up unaware that her peaceful morning would be completely disrupted. At 55, she had adjusted well to returning to public life as First Lady, focusing on her philanthropic causes and staying away from political controversy. Her personal assistant brought her morning coffee along with her agenda for the day. Everything seemed normal until the phone rang. Ibrahim called an emergency meeting of his cabinet. In the room were his most trusted ministers, Dr. Ouagadougou of Foreign Affairs, Fatimata Ouagadougou of Economy, and Colonel Koulibaly of Defense. "Gentlemen, what would you do in my place?" Ibrahim asked, showing the document. Dr. Ouagadougou hesitated before speaking. "Mr. President, this could destroy our relations with Washington. We need to consider the economic consequences." Fatima agreed. "We have important trade agreements pending. A diplomatic crisis now would be devastating." But Ibrahim had already made up his mind. "During my campaign, I promised that Burkina Faso would no longer be exploited in silence. Our gold is being stolen. Our people are dying. And you want me to remain silent?" Colonel Koulibaly supported the president. "Sir, our soldiers have been fighting terrorists financed by these same companies. It is a betrayal of the blood of our men not to act." Ibrahim picked up the phone and called Yacouba Ouagadougou, his communications director. "Yacouba, prepare an international press conference for this afternoon. Invite all the major networks, CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, France 24. We'll be broadcasting live to the world." Meanwhile, in Washington, CIA agents were in a panic. Their intercepted communications indicated that Ibrahim Traoré was in possession of highly sensitive information. The CIA director immediately called President Trump. "Mr. President, we have a critical situation in Burkina Faso." Trump, known for his unpredictability, laughed. "That kid again? What does he want now?" "He has documents, sir, documents that could compromise several operations." The director's voice was tense. "Then you better get this done quickly," Trump replied, hanging up. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim meticulously reviewed each document, knowing there was no going back. At 2:00 p.m. Ouagadougou time, the presidential palace was surrounded by journalists from around the world. CNN's Sarah Johnson, the BBC's James Mitchell, and dozens of other correspondents were readying their cameras. The tension was palpable. This is CNN's Sarah Johnson in Ouagadougou, where President Ibrahim Traoré is about to give a press conference too. Had promises to shake up international relations. In Washington, government officials watched nervously. Melania Trump was in her office at the White House when her aide rushed in. "Mrs. Trump, you need to see this now." Ibrahim strode into the room with a firm stance, carrying a black briefcase. "Ladies and gentlemen of the international press, today I will reveal information that the Burkina Bay people and the entire world deserve to know." He opened the briefcase and pulled out photographs. Over the past 5 years, American companies have illegally extracted more than 200 tons of gold from Burkina Bay territory without paying taxes or royalties. "Nah, The first images showed clandestine mining operations in protected territories. But this is just the beginning, Ibrahim continued. These same companies have funded terrorist groups to protect their operations, resulting in the deaths of 847 Burkina civilians. The audience was completely silent. I have emails here proving that American officials knew about these activities and secretly approved them. Ibrahim showed intercepted communications. In Washington, Melania watched in horror as Ibrahim read aloud. Email dated March 15, 2024 from Robert Hayes, an executive at Goldmine Corp., to an unidentified State Department official. Payments to local groups continue as agreed. Extraction is 40% above expected. Social media instantly exploded. Burkina Gate trended worldwide within minutes. Ibrahim wasn't done. But there's more. Much more. Ibrahim paused dramatically before continuing. What I'm going to show you now is even more serious. He projected onto the screen a series of photographs that left the journalist's jaws dropping. These images were taken in January 2025, showing secret meetings between American representatives and leaders of armed groups on Malian territory. The photos showed men in American military fatigues handing boxes to masked individuals. These boxes contain weapons and money intended to finance attacks on Burkina government forces protecting our mines. At Mar-a-Lago, Melania Trump nearly dropped her teacup. She recognized one of the men in the photographs. He was someone who had recently visited the White House. "Oh my God," she muttered, covering her mouth with her hands. Ibrahim continued relentlessly. I have here 347 pages of documents proving that in the last 3 years, American companies have taken 2 to 3 billion worth of funds out of Burkina Faso. The calculator was on the screen. That amount would represent 50 hospitals, 200 schools, or clean water for 2 million Burkina Faso. CNN's Sarah Johnson managed to ask a question. Mr. President, how did you get this information? Through legitimate intelligence operations in our fight against terrorism, we discovered that we were fighting enemies funded by those who were supposed to be our partners. The BBC's James Mitchell asked, "What was your intention in revealing this?" Ibrahim replied firmly, "Justice, reparations, and ensuring that this never happens again." In Washington, Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in a crisis meeting. We need an immediate response. This is a disaster of historic proportions. But Ibrahim wasn't done yet. There is one final revelation that will change everything, he said, pulling out another set of documents. The whole world held its breath. Ibrahim held up the last set of documents. This disclosure directly implicates people at the highest levels of the American government. Melania Trump, watching live from her office, felt her blood run cold. I have communications here that show knowledge and approval of these operations by senior American officials, including people very close to the presidency. He showed encrypted emails, communication dated February 8, 2025. Bina operation continues as planned. Projected Q2 profits exceed expectations. Maintaining strict confidentiality for obvious reasons. The camera panned to a screen where an email appeared signed with the initials MT matching exactly Melania Trump. Melania was livid. She had never sent such an email, had never been involved in mining operations. It was clearly a setup, but how could she prove it? Her assistant rushed into the office. "Mrs. Trump, the phones are ringing off the hook. The press wants statements. It's not true," Melania whispered, still in shock. I have nothing to do with this." Ibrahim continued, "These documents suggest that illegally extracted funds from Burkina Faso have funded American political campaigns and the personal projects of influential figures. Social media exploded with conspiracy theories. Melania Gate joined Tedis Burkina Gate as a global trend. CNN interrupted its regular programming for special coverage. People across America stopped to watch the revelations. Donald Trump was in a meeting when he was told about the allegations against his wife. This is ridiculous," he exploded. "Melania doesn't even know where Burkina Faso is on a map." But the damage was done. Ibrahim had planted seeds of doubt that would quickly grow. "I demand that the American authorities fully investigate these allegations," Ibrahim declared. "The Burkina Bay people deserve justice, and the American people deserve the truth." Melania knew that her life had changed forever in those few minutes. As a respected First Lady, she now faced devastating allegations that threatened to destroy her reputation. 2 hours after Ibrahim's press conference, the White House was in chaos. Journalists crowded the gates shouting questions about the allegations against Melania Trump. The White House spokesman, pressed by dozens of reporters, tried to control the situation. The First Lady categorically denies any involvement in the activities mentioned by the Burkina president. In her private office, Melania was devastated. Her lawyers arrived within the hour, reviewing the documents Ibrahim had shown her. "Madam, these emails are clearly forgeries," said her lead attorney, David Morrison. "The dates do not match. The email address is not official, and you have alibis for all the dates mentioned." But Melania knew that in the age of social media, truth often mattered less than perception. On Twitter, Melania Exposed already had 3 million mentions. Conspiracy theories were spreading like wildfire. Donald Trump walked into Melania's office visibly upset. "This Burkina Bay boy has crossed all the lines," he said. "I will destroy his career." "No," Melania replied firmly. "This will only make things worse. We need to prove my innocence, not attack him." In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim was in a meeting with his staff, monitoring the global reaction. "Mr. President, Yakuba said the press conference has already been viewed more than 50 million times. It is the most watched political event in African history." Dr. Urago expressed concern. "Mr. President, perhaps we have gone too far. Accusing the American First Lady without absolute proof could have serious consequences," Ibrahim thought. Part of him knew that the documents about Melania were suspect. They had appeared too conveniently. But after years of watching his country being exploited, he was determined to send a clear message. "Our investigations are ongoing," Ibrahim said. "If we find that the information about Mrs. Trump is false, we will make a public retraction." Meanwhile, FBI investigators were already analyzing the documents presented by Ibrahim, trying to verify their authenticity 3 days after the revelations. The FBI had set up a special task force to investigate the allegations. The pressure on Melania was intense. She could not leave the White House without being mobbed by reporters. "Mrs. Trump, is it true that you profited from Burkina Bay gold?" reporters shouted. In her office, Melania worked with her lawyers to prove her innocence. "We have your complete schedule for all the dates you mentioned." David Morrison said, "You were at public events, official meetings. There is no way you could have been involved in these operations." Meanwhile, federal investigators discovered something interesting. The servers from which Melania's emails were supposedly coming had been hacked 2 weeks before Ibrahim's press conference. That suggests someone planted these documents. Special Agent Jennifer Hayes reported to the FBI director in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim was also investigating. His intelligence director, Colonel Sawado, brought back disturbing information. "Mr. President, we have discovered that some of the documents on Mrs. Trump may have been fabricated." Ibrahim stood up abruptly. "What? By whom?" "We are still investigating, but there is evidence that agents from a neighboring country may have infiltrated our material with false information." Ibrahim felt the weight of responsibility. If he had wrongly accused the American First Lady, he needed to correct it immediately. Meanwhile, in Washington, Melania was receiving unexpected support. Several previous First Ladies, including Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton, had made public statements defending her. "Regardless of political differences, we know the character of Melania Trump." Michelle Obama said, "These accusations are inconsistent with the woman we know." And a French President, Emmanuel Macron, also spoke out. "France has close relations with the Trump family. We consider these allegations unfounded, but the damage to Melania's reputation continued to spread. Her charities lost donors, events were cancelled, and her approval rating plummeted to 23%. On a rainy morning in May, Ibrahim made a decision that would change everything again. Ibrahim Traoré called another international press conference, this time with a completely different tone. Journalists from around the world returned to Ouagadougou speculating about new revelations. "Does he have more evidence against Melania?" asked CNN's Sarah Johnson. At 3:00 p.m., Ibrahim walked into the same room where he had made the devastating accusations. His face showed a mix of determination and regret. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I have called you together today on a matter of utmost importance, the truth." He paused, looking directly into the cameras. "After rigorous investigations conducted by our intelligence, I have found that some of the information I presented a week ago was false." The silence in the room was absolute. In Washington, Melania Trump watched live, holding her breath. Specifically, the documents suggesting that the American First Lady, Melania Trump, was involved in illegal mining operations were fabricated and inserted into our material by outside agents. Melania closed her eyes, feeling immense relief. "I want to be absolutely clear. Ms. Melania Trump is completely innocent of the allegations I have made. She was the victim of a sophisticated disinformation operation. Ibrahim provided evidence of the fabrication. Our investigations have revealed that agents from the Wagner Group linked to the Russian government infiltrated our system with false documents in order to create a diplomatic crisis between Burkina Faso and the United States. The revelations were shocking. Russia had orchestrated an operation to destroy Melania's reputation and create conflict between Africa and America. I formally apologize to Ms. Melania Trump, the American people, and the entire world. As President, I take full responsibility for failing to adequately verify all information before making it public." In Washington, Donald Trump watched with a widening smile. "I knew it," he told his aides. "Melania would never do something like this." Ibrahim continued, "However, I want to make it clear that all other revelations about illegal mining and financing of terrorist groups remain valid and proven." 2 hours after Ibrahim's retraction, something extraordinary happened. Melania Trump, against all the advice of her aides, decided to make a public statement in the White House Rose Garden. She addressed the press for the first time in weeks. "I would like to thank President Ibrahim Traoré for his courage in seeking the truth and publicly correcting it," Melania said, her voice firm but emotional. Few leaders would have the humility to admit a mistake of this magnitude. Her statement stunned the world. Instead of attacking Ibrahim, she praised him. "What happened to me was terrible, but what is happening to the people of Burkina Faso is much worse. If her revelations about illegal mining are true, it needs to be investigated." Melania's stance impressed even her critics. Political commentators praised her grace under pressure and moral leadership. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim watched Melania's statement with admiration. "She is a strong woman," he said to his wife, Ajara. "Maybe we can turn this crisis into an opportunity." The next day, something even more surprising happened. Melania Trump announced that she would visit Burkina Faso to see for herself the situation and explore ways to help the Burkina Bay people. The news shocked Washington. "Has she lost her mind?" asked a Republican senator. But Donald Trump supported the decision. Melania has always had a heart for humanitarian causes. If she wants to go, let her go. Preparations began immediately. It would be the first visit by an American First Lady to Burkina Faso in history. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim ordered that all protocols be followed to receive Melania with maximum dignity. "She has been wronged because of us," he said. "We will show her the best of our hospitality." The world's media went wild. Melania in Burkina became a global trend. Analysts speculated about the diplomatic implications of the visit. Some saw it as a unique opportunity for reconciliation. Others feared new conflicts. A week later, Air Force 2 landed in Ouagadougou carrying a First Lady determined to turn a personal crisis into humanitarian progress. Melania Trump's arrival in Ouagadougou was historic. Thousands of Burkinabés lined the streets curious to see the American First Lady, who had become the unwitting protagonist of an international crisis. Ibrahim Traoré greeted her at the airport with state honors. As they shook hands, the cameras captured a moment of mutual respect that symbolized a new era. "Welcome to Burkina Faso, Mrs. Trump," Ibrahim said, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for having me, President Traoré. I am here to learn and to help." Until the 3-day visit transformed both leaders. Melania visited hospitals built with resources recovered from illegal mining operations. She saw schools where Burkinab children learned English and dreamed of a better future. In one moving moment, she held a malnourished child in her arms, promising that she would work to bring medical help. "This experience has changed my perspective," Melania said at a rural school. "You deserve all the support we can give." Ibrahim personally accompanied her on each visit, explaining the challenges Burkina Faso faced. "Our youth are our greatest treasure," he said, watching children play in the schoolyard. "But we need partners to develop their potential." On the last day, Melania and Ibrahim signed a cooperation agreement creating the Melania Burkina Foundation for the Education of African Girls. "Out of a crisis, an opportunity is born," Melania said at the ceremony. Back in the United States, Melania became a passionate advocate for Africa. She organized charity galas, spoke before Congress about the continent's needs, and established student exchange programs. Her popularity soared from 23% to 71%. Ibrahim, in turn, became a global example of responsible leadership. Other African leaders followed his model of transparency and dignity. 6 months later, Burkina Faso had become a destination for legitimate international investment. Ibrahim's revelations about illegal mining led to international investigations. 3 American companies were sued, Russian agents were exposed, and Burkina Faso recovered billions in stolen funds. The country used those funds to build universities, hospitals, and infrastructure. On a quiet evening in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim reflected on an extraordinary journey. From false accusations, an unlikely friendship had been born between 2 nations. Sometimes, he told Ajara, the biggest mistakes lead to the biggest successes. In Washington, Melania was thinking similar thoughts. Her reputation had been temporarily destroyed, but from it emerged a greater purpose, to be a bridge between America and Africa. The crisis that began with forged documents ended with genuine bonds of cooperation and mutual respect, proving that even in the darkest moments, truth and dignity are